fact, this is the only thing mechanically that has changed. Hello and welcome to Real Auto Reviews. My name is Shiraz, and I know, I am late to the party, and that is why I'll just dive straight into it. I'll just tell you one thing before I start. I rode the bike for 219 kilometers. In fact, I'm the only one who managed to hit reserve on a first ride, and it does not stop there. So, once the low fuel light came on, I filled in about 2 liters of fuel, did the fuel efficiency run, and you have that video. I'll put the link in the description below, and came back, asked Triumph to fill it back up, and then asked my DOP Parijat, who rides a KTM RC 390, a 2014 model, to ride the motorcycle. Why? Because he's 5'10", 90 kgs, so I wanted to know his perspective as well. And he rode the bike for an additional 66 kilometers. Yes, my DOP rode more than most reviewers on a first ride. I'm sure you know by now that there are a few reviewers who ride for just 50 kilometers and publish 45-minute monologues. So with that out of the way, and let me reiterate, we rode for 285 kilometers. In fact, that is why we were left with just 1 hour to find a location, set up the camera, set up the motorcycle, and shoot a review video. We did manage that, but when I came back and I saw the P2C footage, it was whiter than Christmas in Antarctica. So, which is a little bit heartbreaking. Why? Because that was a beautiful location. But then in hindsight, I would say that it was a blessing in disguise, because now I can share a lot more about the motorcycle. In fact, I would want to stick to this format wherein I come back, gather my thoughts, and so that I'm able to tell you a lot more about the motorcycle than I would in a hurried review on a first ride. So yeah, do let me know if you like this format wherein I give you a lot more information. And okay, let's start with the review now. So first things first, the size. A lot of you have asked whether this looks small in person like the Speed 400. The answer is no, it does not. It is longer and taller than the Speed 400, plus the taller and wider handlebar along with the knuckle guards adds further to its presence. However, all of that does not get to a point wherein the bike gets intimidating for people who are, say, 5'8" and below. In fact, let me add here quickly something. Whenever you are thinking about riding a taller motorcycle, whether you would be able to reach or not, your height does not matter. Your inseam does, and I've made a separate seat height video. You may watch that if the figure of 835 mm seat height is bothering you. Number 2, ergonomics. Hands down, this is the more comfortable bike of the two when you compare it to the Speed 400. Mind you, Speed 400 is not an uncomfortable motorcycle. However, on the Scrambler you sit more upright, and even the seat to foot peg distance is a bit more relaxed on the Scrambler, and so is the position of the foot pegs. Performance. There are absolutely no changes to the power and torque figures, and no, there is no change Triumph has made in the tuning. Okay, they haven't made any tweaks to the engine or to the ECU. If someone is telling that, they deserve a slap from you. There is no change in the primary reduction. There is no change in the gearbox ratios. However, in fact, this is the only thing mechanically that has changed. The final drive has been altered. How? There is one tooth less on the front sprocket. What that means for you is you do feel a bit more grunt in the lower gears. On the flip side, the max speeds in every gear have come down. So while sprinting, you will be hitting the limiter a lot more often than on the Speed 400. However, since the rear tire circumference has gone up, which somewhat compensates for the change in the final drive, and vice versa. The tractability has not taken a hit. In fact, it is as good as the Speed 400. That is why I didn't bother to make a video on it. You can just check my tractability video of the Speed 400. The Scrambler is almost as good. Now, if you'll ask me which is the quicker motorcycle, it's the Speed 400. I had managed a 6.00 to 100 on the Speed 400. On the Scrambler, I could manage a 6.8. However, unless you ride them both back to back, you will not be able to tell the difference. In fact, I can guarantee that most would still not be able to feel the difference. A word of caution for the lighter riders like me. My weight is 60 kilograms. I would say that anyone who is lighter than 70 kgs, this bike is harder to launch. Why? The rear would step out even with the traction control on. Why does that happen? Okay, for example, like on the CB350, the traction control on this one is not too intrusive. So on the road, you can just leave it turned down and forget all about it. It works beautifully while on the move. For example, it would let the rear spin a bit before kicking in, so that you know that, okay, you know what, I am not the hero, the bike is, and you know where you messed up. However, you know, on a stationary motorcycle, you know, when you're launching it, it does not catch the rear. Okay, the rear would step out. And you would say that, does it not happen on the Speed 400? See, the traction control intensity is the same on both the motorcycle. Absolutely, on both the motorcycles, there is absolutely no change. However, it is not a problem on the Speed 400 because the rear would not step out, and I'll tell you why. There are essentially 4 reasons. Number one is obvious, more tire grip on the Speed 400. The UK guys would not face this issue because they get Metzeller's, but I'm sure even they would be able to you know, feel the difference between their Speed 400, which again gets the Metzeller's, and their Scrambler. But then again, even our Speed 400, that has better grip as compared to our Scrambler. And then the additional 3 factors: the shorter wheelbase of the Speed 400, less suspension travel on the Speed 400, and the weight distribution. So the Speed is 4753 versus the Scrambler's 4852. So for the same rider, there is always going to be a bit more weight on the Speed's rear tire than on the Scrambler. What that means for you is, if you want to indulge in those traffic light GPs, what do? Number one, don't. Number two, if you must, just run lower PSIs. I'm talking about reducing the air in your tires. Yeah, when you do that on the rear tire, do that on the front as well. It will give you more grip. What about the top speed, you ask? I was able to hit 160 on the speedo on the Scrambler, which is about 10 kilometers shy of the 170 I could manage on the Speed 400. In fact, the Speed 400, you would hit the limiter at 170. Which actually brings me to the stability of both motorcycles. There are absolutely no complaints on as far as the stability goes on both motorcycles. However, if you are someone who's referred to as a maniac by your friends, and you would always ride at the limit, you'll be maxing the bike out every time, the Speed 400 is the bike for you. It is certainly more stable at max velocity. The Scrambler is not bad at all, but then, like I said, if you are that kind of rider, Speed 400 is the motorcycle for you. It has the Speed 400 has better braking too. Again, the tire grip comes into the picture. Plus, although Triumph has actually gone ahead with a bigger rotor on the Scrambler, it does not get the sintered pads from the Speed 400. Now, Triumph say that you would not want a sharp bite when you're off the road. Of course, it's a Scrambler, and which is true. However, that has translated to longer stopping distances as compared to the Speed 400 for the Scrambler. Now again, tires and pads are not something that you cannot change, so I would suggest that you ride the motorcycle absolutely stock for around a year, and you wear the stock tires out and the brake pads, and when it's time to change, then you upgrade so that you can appreciate the difference as well. By the way, on the Scrambler you can switch the rear ABS off. So the moment you select it, not only the rear ABS is switched off, the traction control is also switched off. Yeah. So it's not that you have to switch off the traction control separately. So that's the off-road mode. Once you select it, the rear ABS is getting switched off, and so is the traction control. On the road, of course, you can just switch the traction control off if you want, and you would still have the rear ABS. Now let's talk about handling, maneuverability and ride quality. Maneuverability first. What is maneuverability? See, simply it is about how easy or difficult a motorcycle is to maneuver in tight spaces, in traffic, taking a U-turn, whether it is easy or difficult. See, let me first get one thing out of the way. People who have an inseam of, I would say, above 32 inches, they do not have a problem in maneuvering tall motorcycles. The steering lock-to-lock range is generous, and the only thing that would stop them from filtering through the tightest spots would be the wider handlebar. That's it. But what about the rest of the folks? People who have shorter inseams or people who are less than 5'8". Well, the good news for you is, like I had mentioned, the weight distribution is better, slightly better than on the Speed 400. So I told you that on the Scrambler it is 48-52 as compared to the Speed's 47-53. Now the closer it is to 50-50, the easier it is to keep the bike upright. It's as simple as that. The U-turns become easier. Having said that, you would still need to be a bit careful at all times if you're not blessed with a good inseam. Now let's talk about the handling. It is fantastic. Okay, it has to be. It's the rake angle on this one is steeper than on the Speed 400. You are going to love this motorcycle in the ghats. I did. And everyone who I interacted with, they had a blast. It is almost as good as the Speed 400. It's just that sometimes it reminds you that yes, it is a taller motorcycle. It has a bigger, heavier front wheel, which coupled to the bigger trail becomes an advantage off-road. Now, most know the obvious advantages of ground clearance of the road and on the road as well. However, not many are aware, about the pros and cons of a bigger wheel and trail. In short, while a bigger wheel itself would not be as easily perturbed by small stones off the road like a smaller wheel would, more trail helps it to self-straighten as and when it does get deflected. So yes, compared to the Speed 400, this is definitely a much better motorcycle off the road. The increased ground clearance of course helps, and you have a bash plate as well. So yes, you are going to have an even better time off the road on the Scrambler. On the Speed, you will have to be a bit careful. With that, we come to the ride quality. See, I had mentioned in my Speed 400, and I still stand by it, that motorcycle has near perfect ride quality. Now, the Scrambler has 10 mm more travel in the front and 20 mm more travel at the rear. Except dear friend Varad More and myself, everyone else, okay, I'm talking about people who are above 75 kgs, they said that, oh, you know what, the ride quality is brilliant. However, Varad and I, we felt the ride quality to be, decidedly on the stiffer side for our weight. Now, at the cost of repetition, my weight is 60 kgs, and yes, I found the suspension to be on, I would not say that the difference is subtle. I actually found it to be a lot stiffer than on the Speed 400. Lowering air pressure helped a little, but not that much. But then again, this is not a deal breaker. For example, if I introspect that if I were to buy the Scrambler, I would buy it in a jiffy. This would not be a deal breaker for me. The honest thing is that this would be bought by people who are above 5'8", 5'10", and you would seldom see a 5'8", 60 kg person. They're mostly above 70, 80 kgs. But then yeah, I have to let you know, if you are one of those lanky creatures who are 5'10" and 55 kgs, still it would not be a deal breaker for you, let me assure you of that. Now we are nearing the end of the review. Let me quickly tell you about the fuel efficiency. You would have seen the video. Let me still give you the figure. I managed 31 kilometers to a liter in my fuel efficiency run, and I did not ride at 40 kilometers an hour. I was continually maintaining 80, 90, 100, 80, 90, 100, 110 even. I crossed 120 at least 4 to 5 times. I touched 140 once. The only thing that I did not do was redlining in any gear. That I did not do, and I did not get stuck in traffic. So I would say that while touring, if you are able to limit your top speed to 110, you would certainly get above 31 kilometers to a liter. If you ride like a maniac, expect the fuel efficiency figure to drop down to mid-20s. Now what? Vibrations, less than on the Speed 400. However, the best cruising speed remains around 110, 120. Of course, no one is stopping you from hitting 140, 150 for a few seconds and then coming back to 110, 120, which I feel is decent enough. So now it's verdict time. See, you will be approaching this motorcycle in one of the three ways. Number one would be you approach it for what it is, a 40 PS Scrambler. There is no 40 PS Scrambler as of now, especially at this price, and especially one that has such impeccable build quality, fit and finish. So until the time Royal Enfield creates a Scrambler version of its new upcoming Himalayan 450, which itself is some time away, I don't see that, purely as a Scrambler, this bike has any competition. Number two, you would be comparing it to every other motorcycle in this price bracket, and then I would say that you need to introspect a lot to find out what you really want. Find out what your priorities are, ask me questions, and then help you out. Of course, this review would help you out as well, but if you still have questions, you want to compare it to the Dominar, you want to compare it to the Himalayan, do ask me questions, and I'll do a few fact-finding questions, and then I'll tell you the right bike for you. The third is, and many of you have asked, when you compare it to the Speed 400, again, I've already told you that the tallest people would buy the Scrambler, the shortest riders would buy the Speed 400, but there still is a section of the population that can ride both and are confused which bike to buy, whether the 30,000 rupee premium over the Speed 400 is justified. See, I'll tell you what, the only major difference, the only major advantage a Scrambler guy would have is when he sees a bad patch, okay, say for example a 500 meter, not 500 kilometer, 500 meter bad patch ahead of him, on the Scrambler he would gun it, alright, he would not think twice. You can do it on the Speed 400 as well, but at the back of your mind you will be like, what if I break something? Same thing off the road, the Scrambler guy might fly depending upon his skills, and you would take it easy on the Speed 400. The second thing is the Scrambler is more comfortable, so it would be the more comfortable bike while touring. So yeah, these are the only two differences, and that sums up my review. I hope you liked it, and if you have any questions, please do ask me in the comment section below. Even if you do not have any questions, do leave a comment. It helps the algorithm, and I'll see you soon in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.